Benvenuti, bentornati per la sessione pomeridiana. Ci sono tantissime cose questo pomeriggio e sono felice di avere qui con noi. I'm very glad to have here today speaking about his group, one of the biggest group of the world, Mr. Friedrich Joussen, CEO of TUI Group.
Giancarlo, thank you very much for inviting me. Next time I would like to qualify for a bed, please. But for this time I will stand here and talk a little bit about TUI. Most of you, or some of you, will know TUI. TUI has a heritage of being a tour operator. A tour operator is a company which trades capacity. It buys hotel beds and it sells hotel beds in source markets. All the tour operators have been raised and grown in Northern Europe, when actually after the Second World War, the Northern Europe people gained some wealth, and then they wanted to go on vacation, and guess what? They went on vacation to Spain and Italy because of the beautiful sun. Now, at that time, a tour operator was a very profitable business because there was a lot of service they could offer. Different currencies, for example, are a problem for customers. So if a German customer at that time wanted to go to Spain, they had to actually buy something which was a peseta. And then there was a hyperinflation in the peseta and a very stable D-mark. And the question is, when did you mean the price? When you bought or when you went? It was a different legal system at that time. Spain was a dictatorship, so how do you purchase something in these areas? No, that has all changed. Currency is the same, legal system is the same, and there's the internet, you have the OTAs. So what happens to a trading company if the OTAs come around and actually compete with you? And the industry of tourism would have been maybe not the last one, where actually disruptors of the internet are causing enormous problem to trading companies in industries. You see it in books, you see it in media, you see it in all other kind of industries. So we have decided to set up the company in a new way. And what you see on our investor homepage, you see we are now a vertical integrated group with global scale. What does that mean? We have actually shifted from being a trading company into a company which is developing hotels and cruise offers. And we are using our former core business, 20 million customers, to mitigate the main risk of actually building content, building cruise and hotel content. And the main risk is actually that the hotel is empty, right? So we have 20 million customers, which we have in marketing and sales. This is our former core business of tour operating. We have actually 7 million customers in our own cruise and hotel accommodation. So 20 million customers is big enough in order to fill 7 million hotel capacity. Now, on top of that, we operate a very, very important infrastructure, which is aviation. We have 6 airlines, 150 aeroplanes, where we transport per year 13 million customers. And we have actually in-destination services companies, so companies who will take care of the customer once the customer is in destination in more than 100 countries of the world. There we operate buses or we buy hotel beds, still the traditional business. That is actually our group. And when we actually set up the group in the new way, we also said, what do we want to do in common and what do we do different in the different countries? And we came up with 6 things we wanted to do in common: the brand, the IT, aviation, hotel planning worldwide, cruises, and TUI destination services, so the destination services which actually our source markets actually use in destination. Everything else, our companies, local companies in Germany, in the UK, in the Nordics, in Canada, in Russia, do themselves. The product mix, which kind of hotels do they offer, from which airports do they go, into which countries do they go, and so on. That's what we do locally. So this is the official version of our company. And having taken right now 3 minutes of that, I would like to give you some views on the digital version or the new version, how I see our company. If I see our company, I think, yes, vertical integration, global scale is one aspect, but you could see it in another way. You could say, we are a company with 20 million customers a year, and these 20 million customers do a ticket of 800 euro each with us, right? So when they buy a journey, they do on average 800 euro. This is our 16, now this slide is a little bit old, I would say today is already 900 because we have 18 billion euro of revenue, but that is roundabout, you know, the company what we are. So we have 20 million customers per year and we have 18 billion revenue. If you divide the two, it's 800 euro or 900 euro. The interesting thing here is we also cover in the customer journey all the pieces in the customer journey. We sell, it's the vertical integration. We do the we have the airport, we have the flight, we have hotels and cruises, and we have the flight back. So we have a lot of touch points with our customers. That is the vertical integration of our business. So the question is, if you look our business like this, there are two areas which deserve a certain focus. The first one is, can we create more cash than we do today? Because today, we just generate roundabout 20 euro cash on an 800 euro ticket. This is still the trading nature of our business. Of course, if we bring the customer in our own hotel, it is not 20 euro, it is 120 euro which we cash in, right? Because it's our hotel. If we bring the customer to our own cruise ships, the 100 gets to around about 300 to 400 depending on the nature of the ship. So the cash conversion is one of the things which we are driving forward, right? The other very interesting thing we are doing is actually the question, could we get, instead of 800 euro, maybe 820 euro per customer? And that is, of course, a very important question and a very interesting question. And because we have so many touch points, the answer is yes. And what we have done, we have now put all our customer data in a global cloud. So therefore, all customer data, all prospect data, all interest data, all loyal customer data are in a global cloud. And this global cloud is accessible in more than 100 countries of the world. So when a customer actually hops on a plane and actually leaves the plane and destination, there is people, the service reps, and they have an iPad, and they can see who of the people leaving the plane they bring into the hotel. Are they loyal customers? Are they high-value customers? Are they low-value customers? They can see if they see Mr. Müller or Mr. Schmitz. They can see the next best activity. What actually should they do with this customer? Should they sell an excursion or should they actually sell a spa treatment? And the interesting thing is these recommendations are based on not on what we have available, but on the preference of customer. Because we know this customer last time when he was with us, booked a monster truck excursion or booked a cultural excursion, right? So therefore we can be very dedicated and very specific. And we get, when I see that right now, we get conversion rates of up to 20% of our campaigns which really drive or driven into sales, right? And usual conversion rates of just, when you send out emails and get a very broad communication to customers are way below 1%. And we get, with these kinds of one-on-one next best activity campaigns, we get conversion rates to 20%. We can be very specific, one-to-one. Each customer has a different next best activity. That is something which is very interesting. It is very early stages. We have rolled it out not in all the countries. Now it's rolled out in Sweden, it's rolled out in Finland, it's rolled out in in our major destinations. We need all customer data, that's already there, but you need on top of that CRM capabilities. On top of that, you need decisioning engine, so real-time decisioning based on the customer behavior, based on what customers do, what customers did in the past. right? But it is an enormous source of value if you do it right. Now, a second view to look at our company is actually that you say not the 20 million customers are important, but more is important, 90 million risk capacity in bed nights. That is our commitment as well as our own hotels. How many bed nights do we have in order to be sold to 20 million customers? And the question is, of course, if you have these bed nights here, your own and third-party risk capacity, the question is, how do you allocate this kind of risk capacity to 20 million customers? So how do you get the most value out of your risk capacity? Of course, the method of choice is yielding. Because when you have risk capacity, you yield and you don't trade. So over time, you build different prices in order to achieve a full hotel at end of season. Our yield occupancies, which we have, is of course 100%, but our realized occupancy right now, on average, with all of our hotels and risk capacity, is 90%. This means 9%, 9 of 10 beds nights are sold throughout the season when you take the whole season into account. The same is true for 15 million risk capacity in flight. So whenever you let a plane leave from an airport to another airport, the question is how full can you get it? Of course, you want to fill it with 100%. And our proprietary systems, which our yield systems take into account, is double integrated yield. Every flight should be full when it leaves. Every hotel should be full throughout the whole season. And we are calculating now all prices based on the booking of the last hour in every hour in order to achieve 100% occupancy in hotel and 100% load factor in flights. So the question is, why is this blockchain inventory which we introduced important? Today, we are doing these kind of yield algorithms in every market one by one. So Germany does it for the German planes and the German customers. UK does it for the UK customers and the UK travel. And with the blockchain, we right now disaggregated the inventory out of the booking systems onto a common open platform. And therefore, all markets can book into all inventory at the same time. And the question is, which inventory goes to which market is decided by our yield systems. So we always can shift the inventory around the markets. And if a high season, for example, is in Germany and the low season is, for example, in UK or the other way around, we can dynamically package and dynamically shift the inventory around. So you could say, okay, this is possible in the blockchain inventory. It's clear, blockchain can do it, but why is it not a proprietary IT system? Why did you choose the blockchain? The blockchain is a very interesting technology, which is, in my view, the biggest disruptor to the internet which you can imagine, because it's totally flat and open. So we were disrupted by the internet. In our view, is with the blockchain, you have a very hierarchical free structure, which actually potentially can threaten particularly B2B bed banks and the internet structure, which is more hierarchical. And it's very open. And for example, what it really can do, you can very easily connect new markets. One of our new markets is China. So we get actually our own online travel agencies in China, and we connect them to the blockchain inventory in a very seamless and clear way without actually having IT adaptations, right? The nice thing is, for example, if we take our hotels in Thailand, if we take our hotels in the Maldives, if we just get 5% occupancy out of China, so a couple of Chinese booking into that hotel, it's not only a low-risk entry into a new market with additional revenues and margins from a new market, but it has also enormous effects in the margin of our core business, because the yield system now thinks that it doesn't need to fill 100%, it needs to fill 95%. And the nature of yields is, if you have lower risk capacity, already the price of the first bed you sell is already higher. So the whole yield curves become different yield curves. And that is the beauty of the blockchain, because the blockchain, open a blockchain to somebody, because it's so secure and because it's so flat, it is actually something without any cost. Yeah? And therefore, you know, we are now looking, opening it for our new markets, and that's actually going on. My last thing I want to say is, if this is actually doing also a benefit to our core markets because the yield pressure goes down, the question is, why shouldn't we open it for everybody? This is not decided yet in its very early days, but in principle we believe, or I believe, that actually making it accessible for everybody will be also an enormous benefit for our core business, because again the yield pressure will be released, we have additional revenues, and we will even better create better margin in our core business. Now, that said, I want to close here, and we do a little bit of an interview session with my friend Philip, and some maybe Q&As as well from the audience. I want to close here with one thought. When I started my talk, I said we were afraid for disintermediation from the internet, right? I think with this kind of technology, with vertical integration, with that many touch points, with customer data all over in 100 countries, and that many customer data and the customer knowledge we have, I think with the blockchain inventory, it's hard for me to believe that we will not be competitive. At least we shouldn't be feeling miserable. It's more or less the race is open. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fritz. I think you get the colorful chair. I take black and white. Or
if I don't get a bed, I get a colorful chair.
Yeah, okay.
That's good.
It's interesting. Expedia and Booking.com are very vocal about saying we're not interested in running hotels at all. And TUI has evolved over the decades, and you can't really call it a tour operator. It's so vertically integrated with hotels and cruise. Do you think there's pressure on the OTAs to continue to sustain growth, to become more vertically integrated, or you think just being an intermediary works?
I mean, when you look at the internet, Philip, I think you see it everywhere. You have this platform structure, right? The winner takes it all. You have increasing economies of scale because you have more or less zero proportionate cost, right? Yeah. So the internet is always these kind of platforms. You have an Expedia, you have a Booking, you have a Trivago, you have all these are these nature. You know, they try to be ubiquitous, right? Mm. And they try to build monopolies in that direction. I think what we are doing, we are building market structures like this. So our profit pool now is in the hotels. We have more than 50% of profits already from hotels and cruises.
50% of TUI's profit, over.
Yes, already.
From supply.
From content we develop, finance, and operate. And of course, in this content, the internet is an additional sales channel. So we can use, for example, in Caribbean, Booking for our sales in the US, where we don't have our own presence. But it's an additional chance. But it's not something we have to rely on, but you know, it's an additional chance.
So do you think Expedia and Priceline Group will ever change and move into supply?
No, they can't. I think this is not, their view of the world is like this. Our view of the world is like this.
Yeah. So along that, but don't mind me asking, but so...
I mean, we don't build hotels where there's an oversupply. We build hotels where there's a shortage of supply, you know, where actually growth is very strong.
And you have customers. So what's it like? How long have you been CEO of TUI?
5 years now.
5 years now. So TUI, Expedia, Priceline Group, all publicly traded companies.
Yes.
So TUI's market cap around 9 billion euros. Does it drive you crazy that Expedia almost 16 billion euros and Priceline Group an amazing 70, or you don't think about it?
No. It's very important. I mean, when you have a 70 billion company, I mean, the way of how you can raise money, how you can finance a company is different than 9. No, I didn't say that Booking is not a good company. I said I don't run Booking, right? So I happen to run a trading company, and we have tripled the share price in the last 5 years, and actually because we bought a business 100%. The company value is now 6 times to the company value when I started. So it's also not bad. It's not the only model, but Booking is definitely a very good model. But
congratulations on tripling the value of the company. So let's turn to bed banks for a second. So TUI owned hotel beds for a while. And I guess last year sold to the private equity house Cinven. And then Cinven bought Hotel Bed's biggest competitor in GTA from Kuoni. And then when they combined them, they bought Turco.
Yeah.
Is this like strategically brilliant, or is it something they have to do to have a chance in this new marketplace?
I would say one of the reasons for us that we sold Hotel Beds is that we didn't have a synergy, right? It is a bed bank, 70,000 hotels, 30,000 sales organization, OTAs, travel agencies, right? That was one of the reasons. That was not our vertically integrated model. It didn't create synergies. The second reason is because I thought blockchain is a technology which will attack intermediaries, and the first ones who will be attacked is B2B intermediaries, so hotels and agencies.
Yes.
Long term, it will also attack B2C intermediaries. So I also think, it will be a problem for monopolistic margins of platforms of any sense.
It's fascinating. TUI embracing blockchain is really fascinating, even for me personally, because usually when you think of things like artificial intelligence, blockchain, and cryptocurrencies, you think big legacy companies would be the last. And the irony here is the OTAs at the moment are not embracing blockchain. Is that because of what you just mentioned?
I think when you look at the internet, it's asymmetric, right? You have one central platform, and then you have audience, right? One smart, everybody's stupid. And that's the reason why you have these monopolistic margin structures. I mean, it's all monopolies. There's micro-monopolies, one knows everything, nobody. In the blockchain, it's different. The blockchain, everybody can know everything, not everybody needs to know everything.
Right.
So, but already that you can know everything creates an environment where monopolistic margins are disappearing. So therefore, there's no advantage for Expedia or Booking to embrace blockchain.
I wonder if you could put a mentor hat on just for 1 minute and explain to this audience in simple terms, what is blockchain?
Okay. Blockchain is you have two fundamental structures and problems in the internet. Yeah. The first one is these monopolistic margins. I mean, the operators like it, but for customers it's not good. Monopolistic market structure is not good for markets, right? So it's not efficient.
You mean like when companies have huge market share?
Yeah, they have enormous market shares, right? Yeah. When you look Booking, I mean, why do they have this market cap? Because it's monopolistic, right? So it is the only guy who is really at that, in this area active. I mean, that's the reason why I think monopolistic margins are one of the problems. The second problem is you have security problems. When I buy something in the internet, I'm always worried that's a Trojan horse, right? But I tell you, if you have a central platform, you also have doubts that the customer who buys something with you is really existing, right? So the trust between the two is very difficult. And these two major problems are solved by the blockchain. Because blockchain is 100% safe. You always can only add something to the blockchain. You cannot manipulate the past.
So it's an internet-based network.
Yeah, it's an open network with a distributed architecture. You don't have central platforms. All data are thousands of times redundant in the net, in the cloud, if you like. And you don't have central platforms, and therefore it's very redundant, very safe. And everybody can know, also the user can know everything, and therefore there is no monopolistic knowledge, which allows a very few platforms to create huge margins to the disbenefit or to the worry of a single user.
Yeah. One of the dominant company conversations here has been Airbnb. I'm sure you're not surprised. But getting back to our original discussion, Airbnb recently announced, Fritz, that it's partnering with a property developer in Miami to develop an entire apartment building, flat, as an Airbnb. I don't know if do they use the word hotel? Airbnb, I'd say hotel. Yeah. Were you surprised to learn that? that there are plans to do this?
I didn't even know.
You didn't know that? Yeah. So it's interesting. It's just been an announcement. Nothing's happened. But the owner of the building, instead of flying a Marriott or a Hyatt flag or Accor flag, is sort of flying an Airbnb flag.
Yeah, I think, in my view, it's maybe obviously it's the case, but you know, I think the nature of Airbnb and the nature of Booking and the guys is that there are platforms, and platforms are of course much more profitable than real estate. Yeah. I mean, therefore, I think, you know, long term it doesn't sound right. The question is it a threat, or what do we believe of Airbnb? Because of a sharing economy is something very different than a hotel. Yeah. Now, we are not affected so much because Airbnb is more in the cities where you have excess capacity. In the beach, we are sun and beach. All our hotels are sun and beach. A few exceptions.
They're there at the beach,
yeah.
For sure.
So therefore, you know, the sharing economy is something where actually you don't have an investment and you still have a bed, right? In Booking, you also Booking customers need to sleep in a bed. So if we have a bed, we are not a strict competitor. Yeah. In Airbnb, you would say, because you don't have to invest and you still have a bed, you know, then it's okay. Now, if you invest to have a bed, then this advantage disappears, right? So the nice thing on the sharing economy is that you don't invest, you have a private person who is not at home, and you have a bed, and you create value. Yeah. Now the question is that good or bad? I think in principle it's good. Mm. The problem is if the sharing economy is only then profitable if they circumvent taxes and circumvent regulations, then I think it's wrong. Now, that said, regulation, the state is usually very easy. Not easy, very easy. It is not that difficult, but if you circumvent tax, it's hard. And you see right now in Greece, there has been a law that everybody who is on Airbnb, also private person, need to have a tax number. And I think as soon as you do these things, I think it will somehow a little bit more normal.
Philip, we have a question from the floor.
Sure.
Yes, Ivano.
Mr. Joussen, good evening. I have a question. I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but I saw that recently, with surprise, some of your direct competitor, FTI or there, are using on their own website, propose your product and your offer. And I don't understand what kind of strategy could be. Is it right or?
You know, FTI is, you know, to explain to everybody, is a small German competitor. Now, that said, in all fairness, I don't even know. If the local management, as I said, thinks they can create additional margin or additional benefits, you know, I wouldn't say it's difficult, right? Because at the end of the day, you know, as I said, more and more of our profits will be the development, financing, and operation of content. Historically, I would have said it's maybe of strategy, because then you compete with your own tour operator. Long term, that might be very well a good way forward. But in that specific case, I wouldn't like to comment because I don't know it well enough. Yeah, because it's a German thing, and I would have to ask German management why they think it's a good idea. Yeah.
Thank you. Question. I think if somebody walked in and didn't know who you were and they saw us, I don't think they would think you're a CEO of a 65,000 person company that's been around for decades and decades with your enthusiasm about technology and open markets. So how do you balance being a big legacy company on the one hand, and on the other hand, injecting the enthusiasm and embracing new technologies? How do you do that?
We have actually, I mean, when you looked at the company maybe 5 years ago, we have been a very traditional trading company. So traders, people who sit in the markets in Germany, in the UK and so on, and they are, and buyers, so we buy hotels in 100 destinations. and then we bundle it and we sell it. And that is still our DNA in the markets. I mean, when you go today into Germany,
Go into a store.
and to UK, and to Canada, and to Russia, that's exactly how we do it still today. Now, what we have done then, on top of that, is we have, on the global functions, IT, particularly IT, but also marketing, CRM, we have actually built on top layers of, site or central functions which are driving the change. And therefore, right now, for example, if you build hotels and develop hotels, you can still be a trader in a local market, and it's not harming, right?
So to make these changes on top, especially in IT and marketing, did you have to
We hired people
change the head?
Yeah, these people are all new. There are people who I knew from the history, from my past, and internet guys.
Sometimes you can't change the culture without changing people.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Oh yeah, these functions, the people who work on the CRM, who work on the blockchain, who work on the cloud computing, they are all people from the tech industry, mathematics, physics, and so on. Yeah.
Fascinating.
We have another question, yes.
Yes, you're a private company and you put the inventory on the blockchain. Do you think that public administration and DMOs should do this and to let you do the front end, doing the unique identifier of the offer and of all the services, ancillaries and whatever, so you can do the front end, having the inventory given from the public administration?
You mean how the blockchain is used?
No, the data, the offer.
Yes.
You are putting your data on the your inventory
Yes.
on the. Do you think that public administration, the DMOs, should do this to give you the chance to do the front end? Just do the front end, having all the inventory, the database, free, open.
I think the question of, is it something which we are using in order to create efficiency in our system? Or is it something which will be a touristic blockchain which is open to everybody and we are just using it? Is a very fair question, and that needs decision in the future. In the past, there has been this kind of separation of originally vertically integrated functions. I'll give you one example, which is maybe the most known in the touristic industry. Amadeus and Sabre started at commercial functions, at inventory functions for airlines, then were disintermediated, then actually were separated, traded separately, and Sabre today has a higher market cap than all airlines in the US together. So it might very well be that also we, in 5 years, come to the conclusion that we should separate our IT function, blockchain inventory, and make it something separate. Could go from a private blockchain to an open private or public blockchain. But that is something we are looking at, but I don't foresee that within a short time frame, maybe 5 years or so. But right now, the innovation speed is way too high. Every 3 months we change our blockchain still in order to see that to best facilitate our needs.
We have another question from the floor, probably the last one.
Hello, good evening. It's a different type of question this time. I noticed you've got 324 TUI hotels around the world. How much in percentage are you going to improve in Italy?
Sorry, how much?
In percentage, or how many other structures are you going to make as a TUI Blue or a TUI group in Italy?
Okay, yeah.
Which is TUI intention? Which is your TUI, your intention?
I think
so. If TUI is opening other hotels in Italy, especially in Tuscany, we would be happy.
Actually, we have a beautiful hotel in Tuscany.
I know you have.
If you have time after lunch, after dinner, the tenuta, the Castelfalfi is, if you dream of Tuscany, I always say you should be going there. The unfortunate thing is we never made money. The season is pretty short, but that said, I think in Italy itself, it's not our core focus to invest in our own hotels, right? And the reason for that is the investment goes today mainly in Caribbean. It goes into mainly in Southeast Asia, 365 days destination, very, very strong growing. If you look at Caribbean, every hotel you have makes a capital return of 20%. Because the Americans are now traveling more international, the Americans get more passports, and it's just, whatever hotel you is 95% average occupancy full year. 95%
in the Caribbean.
Average occupancy. Wow. So that is not possible in Italy. But of course we operate, for example, a Robinson Club in Apulia. We operate hotels also with our partners in Italy. And the customers are very satisfied because the Italian vacation is one of the vacations which is the most branded vacation. When you go to Italy, you know what to expect. And it's not only sun and beach, it's also culture. And that is something, and history, right? And therefore, I think for us, the vacation, offering vacation in Italy is very important. But investing in own hotels in Italy is not 100% the prime focus. In Italy, it's more like the hotel is already there, and we start maybe branding it or maybe operating it, but investing ourselves is not our core focus.
Closing question, CEO type. Recently, the board of directors of Uber fired the founder, Travis Kalanick, and I think surprised a lot of people by tapping somebody you and I know, then Expedia CEO Dara Khosrowshahi. And so I'm assuming you weren't part of that search to go with Meg Whitman, but were you surprised that somebody inside the travel industry that we do so well got tapped, and how do you think that's going to go for Uber?
If you had asked me neutrally, would somebody for the travel industry be considered, I would have said, I wouldn't know. But now as I know that Dara got the job, he is, I think, perfect for the job.
I think
because you know Dara very well as well. I mean, this guy is very ambitious, very driven, but at the same time, a lot of humility.
Down to earth.
Humility and so on. And I think that's, from a cultural point of view, that's exactly what I think what Uber needs.
Ladies and gentlemen, Fritz Joussen, the CEO of TUI, thank you very much. It's great to have you. Thank you.